back to Business AM. You're watching Metropole Television. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiagi. We have to talk about the insurance sector, whether you like it or not, because we do know that one of those critical areas that actually point to the performance of the economy is the insurance sector. Somebody will tell you that when business is good, the insurance sector is booming, in the sense that businesses have more assets that they want covered. Therefore, when you talk about the COVID-19 pandemic really affecting the economy with the way that it has affected it, then it begs the question, what is going on in the insurance sector? Have they stopped? What are they doing? How are they reinventing themselves to make sure, therefore, that they will be getting ready just to go through this trying period this morning, just to help us understand exactly what is going on in the insurance sector, and also from the brokerage perspective, we are joined by Mr. Anthony Mwangi. He's from the Association of Insurance Brokers, Kenya. Mr. Mwangi, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Elijah.
Karibu sana to Metropole TV.
Asante sana, and thank you for having me this morning.
Somebody want to ask you the first question. What is the hit so far in the insurance sector as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Great. The hit is big. Considering that basically we insure all the businesses.
Yes.
All.
Yes.
It is across the board. There are some businesses that you can only deal with some certain. If you are a hospital, you deal with only sick people. But for us, we deal with everybody. So obviously, because the entire industry is affected, and particularly the hospitality, which employs very, very many people, therefore the effect is huge and great. Yes. We perhaps have not been able to feel the whole impact because we had a bit of the first 2 months of the year. I think the full result and the full analysis of this would be done at some time in the future. But I think as we speak now, the effect is quite big. Just to give you perhaps an example, look, for instance, the people who are retrenched. I think from analysts, they are talking about anything between 800, 1.5 million people in between there, because there are some that are not reported. Now, all those people have medical covers. They have what we call WIBA. They have what we call vehicles. If they are out of jobs, insurance is the last thing they want to think about.
Pretty much. Because now that's the conversation that we're talking about this
Absolutely.
morning. All right. Another question that when we told people that were coming to talk to you this morning, is that the insurance sector is among those sectors that always look at the risk. Is that you know that something is bound to happen, so please run to us, we'll cover it.
Yeah.
Do you think that locally the insurance sector could have been ready for a pandemic, or you were caught by surprise?
I think like everybody else, we are part of the bigger plan in businesses. We all definitely, nobody expected this. And that's why, first of all, let's say, in generalities, pandemic all over the world are excluded. Mm-hmm. Because when they come, they wipe out even in insurance investments. So pandemic by nature are actually exclusions. Because nobody, not even the mighty and as big or whatever, who can be able to perform it. So yes. I don't think anybody was ready for what we are. So far, we are absorbing.
Pretty much, you are absorbing.
Absorbing.
So that begs the next question. Are we going to see reinventions within the insurance sector? And from which way do we expect these inventions to come from?
Thank you. I think that's a very great question. And I think we're already starting to see it. Yes. And I will start perhaps even things like to do with in the digital world. And if I even go back one step ahead, it's not that I think we prepared for it, but I think we were already, somebody had actually almost thought about something can happen. As we speak, we are able to issue motor vehicle insurance certificates from the comfort of wherever we are. We are now issuing what we call digital certificates to our customers. So it doesn't matter where you are now in the comfort of your home. We can actually be able to send you your digital cover. To that extent, therefore, you can see the innovation that has actually come. That in the digital world, we are very, very strong right now, and there are very many other applications that are coming up. The other area that I actually also see is people now starting to look at insurance in a much bigger way, and therefore we're going to see many more policies, many more other covers that are coming in place, particularly covering the areas that is going to cover the digital world. And the cyber crimes and everything else. So those are areas that actually we're going to see a lot of improvements going forward.
Yes.
Luckily for us now, everybody has been directed. The traffic all of the world has been directed towards the digital platforms.
Yes.
So I think we will now see a lot of apps in the insurance sector. And I think, I know we have always said insurance is never bought, it's sold. Because there is that convincing, there is that explanation. Because it's not like a product, a glass like this one, you come and buy it and go. You need to understand the exclusions and everything else that matters. But I think we are now going to see that development where we will even have apps that are able perhaps to explain to customers.
Yes.
And frequently asked questions, perhaps now answer digitally. Perhaps even voiceovers and stuff like that. So I'm very excited, despite the gloom. I think all is no gloom, even when you look not only in the insurance industry but across the divide. In the business, there is a lot of development, particularly in the IT department. I don't think we'll be left behind.
Health insurance has come under the microscope when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the country, specifically on the way in which insurance firms have been thinking about people's health. Do you think there's going to be another innovation within the health insurance? For example, now we're telling people don't go out. Don't stay at home if you can. So are we going to see innovations again under health insurance, especially now as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, I see that. One of the things that I'm thinking we are not even addressing 100% or properly is perhaps the mental capacity of a lot of people.
It's a huge area, especially.
It's a huge area if you actually think about it. And therefore, I'm looking forward actually to see a lot of development in those areas. Where now, I know in most instances we have even some policies in medical cover that have excluded perhaps mental health, as it were. I'm thinking we are going to see quite a lot of developments in that area, because it's not going to affect so many people. And remember, we as insurance don't run away from risk. So it's a question of how do you absorb it. So we are going to see a lot of development, particularly in as far as health is concerned, particularly on the mental health issues in that area. And so stress-related issues, I think we are going to see a lot of development in those areas, because that is where a lot of people are going to be affected. So we can't run away from that. In fact, they look up to us as insurances, as the risk managers, to be able to help them to that effect. So that is, I'm already thinking, I know even one of our members as we speak, their contribution to COVID, the way they have contributed to COVID, is actually stress-related issues. One of our big brothers in our industry, the broking industry, they have partnered with other medical professions to basically offer stress-related challenges brought up by COVID. So already you can see people are thinking completely out of the box.
All right. So now you represent a very integral part of the insurance sector, brokerage.
Yes.
Generally, we think brokers are the people who come to us, talk to us, we sit down with them, they explain for us. In fact, most of the things that they do is educate the population on exactly what the various policies that the population is to get. Now, here's a case where they're getting told, no, don't walk around. Here's a case where they're getting told, you don't have to go to work. So how are they working right now, Mr. Mwangi?
Of course, it's a shock to begin with, because our business, like you have said, in fact, and you started, I thought you were a broker. You started very well. In fact, that you captured exactly what we do.
Yes.
And therefore, when we are not able to explain to customers basically all that pertains to insurance, face to face, or in meetings, or in seminars, or whatever, it's quite a challenging.
Yes.
Happily is that people are already starting to think of now, like I said earlier, digitally, and a lot of applications, apps that actually have come up. It will never replace face-to-face. Just like this interview, it will never be replaced by anything else. That nothing can actually beat out that. But of course, we have to take cognizance of where we are now. And therefore, we are seeing a lot of developments, also again in a lot of applications. I also know quite a number of brokers, including ourselves, my own organizations. We are coming up actually with applications that are able to reach out to our customers. Again, because of how we have found ourselves because of these issues, customers now have accepted that we can Zoom, we can do webinars, we can call each other. So the video issue a lot has also come in very well. I would say it's not all lost. So the way we are now going around it, basically to get where you are, is that a lot of customers are now also alive. Initially, they have asked us, you mean you can't call me, you can only see me, but now they are acceptable. Because again, we also have to care about our health. Remember, we are risk managers. So we should be the first people on the forefront to ensure that actually also don't spread. And if you allow everybody then to be moving from one place to the other. So even when we go, it's very, very controlled. And of course, observing every instruction that we have been given. But I must admit it's not easy, it's challenging. But I think we eventually will be able to come up. In fact, now what will happen is that it will give us another channel or channels,
yes,
by which now we can also be able to communicate. And also, let me say this. We have also found it very interesting because now we are able to talk to other jurisdictions outside of Kenya, how they also doing their businesses and how it's affected. Just recently, I was in a webinar where we are talking about health management in Africa. And you have seen, and we had people in, I think, Lagos, Singapore, Kenya, and you can see a lot of developments. Today, there are people who are able to offer ambulance services from people who are quarantined in different places. I think that is the innovations that we are actually seeing. So there is quite a bit of that is really happening in our sector during even this time.
Pretty much. All right, let's talk about an issue that has always been with you as well. And I know you represent this also section in the insurance sector that is bestowed with making sure that the penetration of the insurance products in the Kenyan economy
Great one. That's a great
pretty much increased. Do you think that the COVID-19 pandemic now is also going to further affect the penetration of the insurance services, which has been on a long time low within the Kenyan economy? And what do you think is going to be the magic bullet, Mr. Mwangi, to making sure that we achieve double digits in terms of penetration of the insurance services in the Kenyan economy?
I think pretty much like you've said, like any other industry, obviously our penetration is going to be affected.
Yes.
There are also other factors. Perhaps you'll get into that. But I think COVID itself alone is going to actually affect the penetration. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of people who are out of job. There are a lot of people, even institutions, that are retrenching people. I mean, look at all the entire hospitality industry, all the hotels.
Yes.
All those are clients of insurance brokers. If they are not employing people, and those are the people that we offer services, obviously that in itself, as we speak, is going to bring down the penetration by a big percentage.
Yes.
I think I like the question on what would be the magic bullet. I think people now are appreciative of what risk is all about. When we talk about risk, I mean, there are times when you talk to people and they will tell you, depending on what faith they believe in, I believe in this, I believe in that. It can't happen. I think everybody now is arrived to the fact that we live in a world that is full of risks and nobody is sure of tomorrow. And therefore, I think going forward, it's very, very possible to tell people, look, take care about your health. I think I see a big increase especially in the health covers. Because now people have realized that a time may come where you never know when you may need actually that hard insurance to support you. And therefore, I think if there will be, first of all, a great double-digit growth in insurance, I want to see it perhaps in the health sector.
Yes.
The portfolio about properties and everything else may take a little bit of time because a few companies now obviously may not even afford to pay the covers as we move on. Look at schools. I mean, it came in when just schools had opened up. I know clients, even in my own books, who we had just given covers. They were not paid the school fees, so they are unable, therefore, to continue paying. So you would expect them. And now we are told that the students are not able to open in school. So I think in the portfolio, when it comes to property, that may take a little bit of time to recover.
Yes.
But I think in health, because that is critical for everybody, that is perhaps we are going to see the bullet, magic bullet that you've talked about. I think most likely, in my estimation, my prediction, most likely may come through health.
Pretty much. It's interesting that we're talking about the challenges that the insurance sector is facing, even when we're talking about the penetration of insurance services in the country. There is a big elephant in the room that you're dealing with right now, Mr. Mwangi, whether or not you're supposed to handle premiums. Where has that situation reached so far with your insurance companies?
The matter is still in court. What happened is that when the law was passed, we moved in because there was a bit of areas that were, we thought as a lobby, as an association, is going to affect our members very seriously, and we thought it was also going to impact on the way business has always been done. And therefore, I think like any other law-abiding citizen, we moved to court. We got an injunction. So as we speak, the matter is in court. And by the status quo, where we still are being allowed to correct premiums and limit to the insurance companies, that is still in place. And I think it is still working well. So we hope that finally, because we are not against paying premiums on everything else. In fact, as we speak, we are in a we are in a current situation of cash and carry.
Yes.
The regime that is operating as we speak, even the law as it came in, was what we call cash and carry, where actually you're not supposed to go on cover without cover, unless you have paid. So
Yes.
we are abiding by that to the best of our knowledge. Of course, there are exigencies. For instance, when you're dealing with some government agencies that are not paying on time, county government, those are some of the problems that actually we presented to court.
Yes.
We may not be able to delve in detail, but I think we are doing well so far. And I think as far as I'm concerned, as from where I see it,
Yes.
we are managing it well. My members are doing it very, very well.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Eric gave us some numbers that we're looking at last year
Yeah.
in terms of the people pretty much holding unpaid premiums on a high percentage. Brokers and brokerage firms were found to be the leading in terms of those, in terms of the numbers therefore. We're talking about 45% of the unpaid premiums within the Kenyan market.
Yeah.
What would you think is the reason as why this happens, Mr. Mwangi, from where you said in this morning?
Okay, first of all, let me say those numbers were not factual from where we sat. And I
Yes.
think that's one of the major issues that we presented to court.
Yes.
Our figures were way, almost actually a quarter
Yes.
of those numbers. I think the figures were talking about 43 billion of shillings, but we were able to show, I think even present to court, that our numbers were way below. I think we could have been talking about 12 or thereabout
Yes.
billion. And even those ones, we were able to demonstrate where a lot of those monies are. Does it mean that there are no monies that were owed? Absolutely not. I think I will not sit here and lie and say there are no businesses that were had not been paid, but not the figures that were being presented.
Yes.
So I think first of all, I think the source of that information is where we think the challenges emanated from. It was not very consultative with us. We would have actually given our own numbers. So by the time the figures were going to the press and everything else, they were very different numbers. The numbers from our own records are completely down. Let me also say this, the commissioner did a very good thing in the course of last year, although it affected quite a bit of our members, where he insisted that nobody is going to be licensed without clearing the insurance premiums that
Yes.
they owed or
Yes.
perceived to be owed.
Yes.
And the challenge was that some of the monies that were actually being levied on the members were way back to 2004. So you can even ask yourself, how have these companies been doing their audit year in, year out? If 2004, they ought to have actually been written off long time ago,
Yes.
or even time banned.
Yes.
However, luckily, as I speak here, almost 200 members of our association, almost 90%, have their licenses, if not all, meaning that they have actually cleared the insurance premiums. So we hope even before we go to court, or when we go to court, we'll be able to demonstrate that actually we owe no money, or even if there is owed, there
Yes.
is a very good reason why it's owed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will be sure to call you back so we can talk about this issue now. Just as we clear this conversation this morning, you did say the finance bill that did include 14% VAT on
yeah.
brokerage services in
Absolutely
the country.
crazy.
How did you feel about that? Yatani said, best bill ever you're ever going to see in any economy. But then I said, well, 14% VAT on brokerage services. Is that not going to, are you going to push this cost to the customer at the end of the day?
Now, let's first of all actually say this. The application of that law is very contentious even as we speak.
Yes.
We had even ourselves to seek advice from our auditors
Yes.
and our consultants in tax matters, and also KRA themselves. And they told us, how we're supposed to do it. That figure is actually not being charged on brokers. That's the most interesting part of it. That figure is supposed to be charged on premiums. And that is the most, very interesting thing about this tax. Yes, it talked about brokers' commissions and agents' commissions and everything else, but the interpretation that we got from our auditors and from our tax experts and KRA themselves is that money is supposed to be charged to the underwriters. The way the law was formulated, in my view, and especially to whoever did it, especially from Treasury, was very wrong. First of all, remember it was passed through at the heat of COVID.
Yes.
When we got rid of it, we put in our memoranda in the 1 hour that we actually had. But remember, there were no meetings, no people were meeting, so we were never consulted. If we had been consulted, I think, respectively, we would have given government, if they really wanted then to introduce any tax on insurance, there was a better way, and we still think there is a better way of handling it.
Yes.
But because now, I know you haven't asked me that, but I think one of the challenges we are facing is a question of that there is inequality of taxation. And in law,
Yes.
Because, for instance, there's a threshold for anybody who is supposed to pay tax. If you are earning commissions of less than 5 million shillings a year, you are not entitled, you are not eligible to charge VAT.
Yes.
Now, so you imagine two brokers. One is, the threshold is not 5 million, another one whose threshold is for 5 million sheets. So one is charging VAT, and another one is not charging VAT.
Getting charged VAT.
A client who works through an insurance company is not charged VAT, and a client who works through a broker is charged VAT. You can already see that then you are not everybody. You are all both buying insurance, but not everybody
is getting charged
is
VAT.
getting charged VAT.
Yes.
So the impact of that is that then it would look like every business that's going through brokers is supposed to be expensive, particularly to the underwriters, because they are the ones who are pushing this tax too. So I think there is a better way, and we hope at a point in time, especially when this open up, we hope that we'll be able to put a motion and a petition for a review of that position.
Pretty much. All right, just in 1 minute, Mr. Mwangi, do you think that there's a chance for high penetration of insurance services in the country?
Absolutely. This is a virgin land. It's as virgin as it can be. In fact, my worry is, if you don't institute the insurance business in this country, we can fight very serious penetration coming from abroad, because this is one area that has completely not grown at all. At 3%, 2.5, 2.6 to 3%, we are a virgin market. I think we only have 3%, which may be about 1.2 of adult population in Kenya that have one form of insurance. If you remove the NHF, only about 1.2 million people
yes.
who have insurance of any sort of form in the country, out of what the population of this country. So you can see the potential this country has. So there is a huge, huge potential. But I think we need the right environment, and we need the right policies to be able to do that. And I think all of us are geared to do that. We haven't done enough, but I'm sure we are trying to do that.
Pretty much. This morning we were speaking to Mr. Anthony Mwangi, Association of Insurance Brokers Kenya. Fantastic. So now we end our show there, but as we had said, it is 6th of July 2020. Here at Metropole TV, we are anxiously waiting for that presidential address today. The question is, to open or not to open? Take him back to the time that he came into the studio this morning at Metropole TV KE across all your social media platforms. I know those questions have been coming in via 20146. Let's take that conversation online, and we shall get to send him some of those comments before the day ends today. Good morning. I'll see you at 10 and 11 for Metropole News.